Well, the temperature's dropping and the leaves are falling, and that must... Okay, actually, it's really hot out today. It's still summer. I don't know why we're doing this. We should still be on our road bike, but we're not. It is the beginning of the cyclocross season, and we are in Mount Pleasant, Michigan for the LaFrost Cross cyclocross race, first one of the year. And I'm racing the novice category, as this is my first cyclocross race ever. So, cyclocross fields usually, I guess, have they're a little smaller than the road scene, and so this is there's only 9 people in this race for the novice men, and we're off. So the goal here is to be first through the whole shot, generally speaking, and that's gonna be this first turn of the race. My strategy was not to be first for this. I wanted to be second, and that's what I get. End up getting second here. I've never done cyclocross. I did 1 lap of the course for recon. I'm not very good at bike handling on a mountain bike or a cyclocross bike. Anything kind of in grass and mud and technical stuff. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I wanted somebody ahead of me to kind of watch their lines, see what they're doing, and try to follow them. That doesn't really end up actually working out very well for me. What you'll see as we come through the woods here, we're going to come up to the first dismount spot, and so there's a really twisty hill climb here again pretty early on in the lap. And this is a spot where you gotta jump off the bike, shoulder it, and carry it up this twisty climb. And so, he's gonna have to carry his mountain bike. And, I grab mine, and I pretty quickly pass him. You can see there's one guy right behind us, but, I've passed him now. And so, at this point, we're actually getting into the more technical stuff. The technical descent is right after the second part of this climb that you can bike on. And so, I really wanted somebody to be in front of me for that. But, you're not going to give up spots just to give them up. And so, we remounted. You can see I pretty much have to come to a complete stop for remounting. I just don't have that skill yet. We come downhill here for a second. A little sandy there. We take this right-hand turn, and then this is going to point back up with a 2-track, where the goal is to get back onto that green grass here in the center. You see I try to get on it. I overshoot a little bit. Then I'm able to get on it. And here's a spot that throughout the course I feel like I can create a bit of a gap because I have the power. As long as I stay on the grass and have traction, I have power to kind of run away from people. Which I need because once we crest over the top of this, it gets back to being fairly technical. And just in terms of taking corners, even here, I end up just having to slow down quite a bit. We have a nice descent here that's on grass at least, so here you can kind of keep your speed up. I'm not pedaling, but but then got to turn. And so I'll talk as we do this. You can hear me breathing as hard as I am. My max heart rate is 178. We hit 168, 169 maybe at the very top of that climb. I had to run on, and so that's 95% of max heart rate. You can see how bad that turn was. I completely had to come to a stop. Came to 95% max heart rate within a minute and a half of this race starting. That's just obviously a little bit different than the road races I've been doing, and it felt like just a punch to the gut. And I was definitely some labored breathing. Real slow corner there again. Just this stuff is, and you can see now the guy behind me is kind of catching up on the descent. This is just the stuff I don't excel at, and so I'm taking my time. And I don't want to crash because then I'll lose some real time. But he's gonna end up kind of catching up to me here. Each lap people can catch up on this descent. It's just a spot for mountain bikers to catch up on us roadies who have no idea what we're doing. So we're still coming down, and I think one of these corners here is real steep, and I have to really hammer the brakes. I think it's right up here somewhere. And those ones you're able to kind of to thread the needle on, and not have to lose too much speed. Those ones were nice. Oh, right there. There's this one, And so usually I just took way too much speed and just ran right into the ribbon. Had to back up, and now he's totally caught up to me, right? And that's why I need to put the power down on the first half in the climbs, just because I don't have those skills to stay away on the descent. Okay, so we're back in the park itself. Here's the first dismount in terms of a sand pit. So again, just jumped off the bike right before the grass, lift the bike up, run through the sand, put the bike down, kind of run with it for a second, and then here I'm going to remount. I really could have ran with it probably each lap until about here instead, because I'm kind of still remounting and I have to make that turn. It's kind of awkward. Whereas I could have reoriented the bike and then jumped on it. Maybe would have saved some time there. No, this was awful to bike through. And, you know, it looks like flat land. I'm on a thing that looks like a road bike, and I feel like I should be moving fast. I mean, I'm putting out 400 watts, and I'm going 14 miles an hour. It's just definitely a reorientation to expectations of how this should go. So again, I'm putting out 500 watts here, and got 12 miles an hour. Obviously, a little bit of a climb there, but it's just awful. It's just an awful discipline. But it was a ton of. This was definitely a Type 2 fun event. I was just suffering. I thought about just DNFing multiple times throughout this, even though I was in the lead or in the top 3 throughout this entire race at different times. I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was just so painful. And looking at the times, I think the elites and the sports were going 45 seconds to a little over a minute faster per lap than we are. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I couldn't imagine going any faster. I don't know how you could go faster than I'm going right now. Obviously the dismounts and remounts there, you'd gain some time, but I was just giving it everything I got and just dying. Okay, so we're coming through this straightaway. It's a hard 180, and then here's our first barriers we have to climb over. So gonna jump off, run up, run over, turn around, and then get back on. So you can, again, complete stop, no ability to run and jump on. I just don't have that skill yet. Have to really want to shift here so that you're running a higher cadence, so you're not digging into the mud. Nice, smooth, and then turn. This turn was hard because I kept taking the wrong side of the sand pit. And here he had passed me. I think he ran through the sand. Wasn't watching behind me, so I apologize. It's definitely different speed. So by running through, it is faster. Probably to run through, but you use way more energy to run through that sand than to pedal through it. And so, I chose every time to pedal through. Different people did different things. The junior, and we'll get to him passing me at some point, I think he ran through also every time. He also weighed less than half of me. And so, I don't know, maybe that helped. It's just less weight you're dragging around through the sand. Maybe he used less energy, so that math works out differently. But my big butt, I chose just to pedal through each time and conserve some energy there. Okay, so the morning cranks guy is now in front of me. And again, I'm always fine with this. I figured, the way the ending works is if I had to do some sort of crazy sprint in the grass, I'll do that. I mean, I've done that enough in road. I have no idea how it will work out doing that in cyclocross, but I'd be okay with that. And having somebody kind of pace me. Again, there's only 9 people in the race, so it's not like I'm afraid of getting. And there's no way to really get swarmed and have everybody fly past you in cyclocross. That it's kind of it's why it's nice to be in first place. Is people have to really work to get around you, and you can set the pace at your pace. But for me, if I can try to get around one guy, that's great. So second wheel would be phenomenal for me for the whole race. We're back up to that climb where you gotta jump off. So I'm gonna jump off here. He chose just to not shoulder the bike, and if we have the junior there right behind us, he's doing the same thing where he's just rolling it. I think on this one, because I saw him also roll it, I chose not to shoulder it, whereas I shouldered it last time. I don't know if this was actually easier or harder. I think I like shouldering it more personally, but I think just I saw what other people were doing, I just followed it. Okay, so we're gonna jump back on now the bike, and we're gonna get back to here. So we go downhill. This is again a little sandy. You can see him kind of lose some speed there. We're gonna come in, and now we have that climb where you want to stay right in the center. So here's a spot where you could hope he goes, in the sand, and you could take the grass. And it's kind of what I kind of shove myself into the grass, and I go back in front of him. He did, and this is my hope. If I wanted to gain time here, is that they take a bad line, I can get onto the grass and go harder, and they're in the sand. So again, really muddy rear. See, they're behind me. Maybe I'm gaining a little bit of time here on them. Not a massive amount, certainly, but able to push here, and then I really didn't push on that one at all. But now we're back downhill. So I mean, they're right on my wheel, and they're gonna stay right on my wheel, I'm assuming, through this, because again, I just don't have the skills to descend very well. And I apologize that you're just probably listening to my breathing the entire time in this race. What's so interesting in watching this video kind of afterwards versus all of those crit races is how quiet the video is. You're going so fast, and there's so many people around you in those crit races that there's just ambient noise, and you really can't hear much. And here you can kind of just hear every breath I'm taking as I'm dying. Because it's just, there's not a lot of people. I'm only going 9 miles an hour, so not a lot of sound here. Okay. Yeah, so this was the big one where I really had to slam on my brakes every time. That's the one I meant to reference before in the first lap. It's just, I'm sure other people took that at speed. I'm sure the elites, flew through that. But I scrubbed all of my speed to take that corner and not wash out. So here, interestingly, they're not. This is kind of the gap that there was at the top of the climb. They didn't really get right on me. It may have been a safety precaution on their part after seeing how wild I was. Maybe they stayed behind me on purpose. I doubt it, but you see me flinging all around. Maybe I'd do that too. That time I did not go into the ribbon, so I'll take that as a victory. Little victories throughout. You take the corners slightly better each lap. You're gaining time, or at least losing less time each lap through this portion of it. So we come around, time to jump back off. And I was telling people this during the race. I've never felt less athletic than running through the sand and running up that hill. It's like, everyone's going the same speed as you. It's not like you are slow relative to everyone, but you just feel so unathletic. Like when I'm running normally, I am on, this is a decade ago or plus, well more than a decade. But like I'm in track shoes on a track doing a 100-yard sprint, and you feel athletic. Again, maybe I wasn't the fastest guy in the country, but you feel athletic when you're sprinting like that, and in cycling shoes, in sand, carrying a bike, already dead tired. You just feel just so slow, because you are. Okay, so what they told us going into this was a 30-minute race, a pretty short one. Let me tell you, I couldn't have had it be any longer. Who knows what I would have blown up for sure. But 30-minute race, the way the laps were going, they told us it would be either 3 laps or 4 laps. And so I was really hoping for 3, because I was done here. Again, I'm at 168, 95% of my max heart rate. Not used to that, certainly, in a race. Here's a spot I should have been able to gain time on by just putting down some power. I was being fairly conservative here, being in first right now. I just wanted to not have anybody pass me and just set the pace, and then you know, if people pass me, try to stay with them. You know, this guy behind me from Morning Cranks, like that was kind of my strategy. So I wasn't really pushing it to punish anyone because I don't think I had anything in me to do that. So we have to jump over the barriers again, and again, total dead stop to jump on. He runs right through it. In fact, actually, so here's the key part of the race. That's actually the junior. I'm gonna keep calling him a junior. Ansel with the Ann Arbor Velo Club. You can see he just ran through everything. He just wasn't gonna deal with it. So he just kept the bike down, ran and flew by me. And then we actually see another rider go by me with my very poor ability to do gravel. I get back on here. Ansel's up there. I let him go. I mean, I'm not saying I could have beat him. I want to be very clear. I don't know that I could have beaten him. But I didn't even try. I was pretty leisurely here. I saw who it was, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the junior, because the race was novice and juniors starting at the same time. And so at this point, I was like, oh, okay, so he's gonna win. Great job. He's obviously going super fast. This is awesome, great for him. But he's part of the junior race, so he can just go. I'm gonna deal with the old, the old middle-aged men like me for the rest of the race and just make sure I can try to beat them. And what we're going to see at the end is it turns out Ansel was riding with the novices. And so, spoiler alert for the end of the race, I'm going to lose to Ansel. I don't ever catch back up to him because, quite honestly, I was never trying. It just didn't dawn on me that the kid who, and I don't know how old he is, I'm not trying to offend him, the kid who looks like he's 12 is a part of our middle-aged man novice race. He very much wasn't a novice. Obviously, he knew what he was doing. Again, not a critique to him at all. He's allowed to race in the novice men, and so he did. So great for him. And he probably is. I think the cutoff for this race for novices or for the juniors was like 14, and he very well could be 15, 16, 17. I have no idea. He looked very young. Either way, the point being is I in no way was thinking about trying to chase him down. And so when you're not trying to beat somebody, you definitely aren't going to beat them. And so yeah, so he's gone. I think I do end up getting relatively close to him towards the end of the race, but again, wasn't really trying to catch up, so I don't. So this is another case where I think I don't know what I do on the fourth lap, but here, it looks like I'm just running with it again, and not shouldering it. Again, in the moment, maybe I thought this was easier. Okay, so here's a spot where he definitely has an actual remount where he was moving, but he remounted way higher up. I don't know what I was doing trying to remount, still like on the climb. It was just a stupid move. But okay, so now I am in, I guess technically overall third place because Ansel's up front, and now we have another rider here in front of me. I'm good. In my mind, I'm in second, and I'm good just sitting here on his wheel and letting him set the pace and trying to beat him later on in the race. Because so we did go through that start-finish line, and they said 2 more to go, not 1 more to go. So we're really only halfway through the race at this point, and so let him set the pace and try to beat him later. So he does get a little bit of a gap on me for a second going downhill. And through here I'm starting to worry, okay, obviously I don't have the greatest technical chops. Am I going to lose him through this descent and through these windingness? I really don't. Obviously I get right back on his wheel. So, I'm starting to feel good here. My goal, again, is just to stay right on his wheel through the technical stuff and make it so I can pass him when it makes sense to. And here he's going, relatively slow. I mean, we all are. It's not any critique against him, obviously. But like I'm good. He's not totally sending it down this descent, and I feel confident that I'm going to be able to stay with him. Although, I mean, you watch the way I'm biking; it's pretty awful. But like here, right, this was a straightaway where he could have pounded wattage, and he kind of coasts through it, and that's what I mean by it. Like he wasn't trying to create a gap between the two of us. I think we're both just trying to survive the descent and calm and get our heart rates down. So in that way, I wasn't overly concerned. You can see there's, through the back camera, and I looked back a couple times where I could, mostly kind of coming out of the woods. Once there's some double backs and you're getting off your bike, but there's nobody else around us. It really is just the two of us now left in terms of the podium, and so I'm not worried about people catching up to us. We have one of the junior riders here that we're gonna be passing, and he or she kind of moves off very nicely to the side. Again, AAVC, they start their training early and train all the aspects, which is super nice, right? So they knew to move over. Okay, so we're pretty much through the technical stuff now. So now I'm feeling really good. He didn't run away from me through that stuff. The stuff that I'm worse at, and so we're gonna come through to the sand pit here in a second. And again, I'm not in a hurry to pass him here, so I kind of stay off to his back. We're gonna come around here, and again, all I'm trying to do through this whole section is recover. I just want to stay on his wheel and put out, as little effort as I can, as little energy as I can, so that I'm recovering. Because again, this is all this stuff is the stuff I'm worse at, and so my plan here is going to be, we're gonna cut across and cut over to the other side of the park where we have the barriers and the two sets of sand that we have to bike through. And my goal is going to be, again, still just trying to recover here, just stay on his wheel, do nothing extra. My goal is, as soon as we get done with the barriers, or the sand pit after the barriers, what I want to do is create the gap then. So again, I could go around him here, just no reason to. Stay on his wheel. And because the second half of the course is where I feel the least confident, I'm going to use the first half of the course to really create separation between the two of us, in a hope that he can't make up the time in the second half, and where it's the more technical stuff, the downhill of the hill, and then the sand here, the sand there, the barriers. Obviously, one, just try to create the gap so he can't, but also if I can create a big enough gap, and I get out of sight, maybe he's less likely to even try to chase me down, and he's just good trying to hold off the next person behind us. And so again, just trying to recover, just keeping his pace, and just getting ready to actually put down put down an effort as soon as we get through this section to create the gap. So this is our second to last time through the barriers. We're going to make that 180 turn into the barriers that we got to jump over. As we come through here, he kicks me and apologizes. I wasn't too concerned about it. In a sport where you have to jump off and on your bike over and over again, that's just life. He barely even tapped me. So he shouldered his bike and he's running through it. Once again, I'm biking through it, just pedaling through, and you can see here, I'm able to keep that gap. I'm already on my bike. I don't have to remount, so I already have the gap, right? I'm able to put down a little bit of watts. I'm not going very hard here, but I've already created that gap now because he had to jump back on his bike, and he's probably pretty tired for running through the sand. But now it's time. I'm going to use this whole second half to try to make sure that he can't. So up in the 400s. 350, kind of try to settle in at threshold through this section, and a little under threshold now, but I'm tired. What are you gonna do? There we go. We're back up, and again, I'm just trying to use all of this to create as big of a gap as possible. He had to remount. I think there's already I created an immediate gap, but you can't even see him through my back camera now. So, kind of did exactly what I need to do. I need to keep pushing it all the way to the top of the final hill, for sure, just to be safe. But this is exactly what I wanted. You know, this whole stretch all the way to the top of the hill before the descent is that's going to be my bread and butter of being able to put down some watts and try to create a gap. I mean, this part not really, right? This is awful. But yeah, it straightens back out for a second. Here we go. This is the last lap. Last time I have to go up this climb by jumping off the bike. I think I roll it up again. I probably should have shouldered it every single time. I'll have to do some research, talk to some people about what the best option here was. I shouldered it the first time. That actually felt the best. This sort of rolling it, again, the second lap, other people were doing that, so I did too. I'm moving a little bit slower here than I think I was before. So I'm tired, but I'm rolling it up. Should have shouldered it probably. Once again, I get on the bike before it flattens back out. Again, not a good call. Totally at a dead stop. I'll have to work on that, right? That's just having practice. And back on the bike, and time to put some watts back down and keep going. Okay, so we're going to come up to that second half of the climb here after a little bit of the dip down. Want to stay right in the center grass. And I do this one I think is one of the worst laps for me of being able to do that. You can see I'm really wobbly. I'm tired. At 170, way off to the left, back to the right, in the sand. You can tell I really lost my ability to have bike control here, more so than the previous 3 laps. But we're up and over. Now this is the second, kind of to me, the second half of the course. We're going to go downhill, and it's a little more technical. Really don't want to have a big crash. Don't want to totally, run into the ribbons, fall down, anything that could lose me significant time. Willing to hit the brakes a little bit harder on this one, knowing I have a good gap. So I'm gonna play it a little safe here. Another junior rider there. And there's where I almost fell. So turning it, hard left just to have to immediately turn hard right. Slipped through the sand. Almost went down again. That's what I was really trying not to have happen. Luckily I was able to, I think, pop my foot out and catch it, or maybe I just caught it in general, but was able to save that so I didn't go totally down. Last time, again, really, really wobbly through that. Lost all of my speed. But we made it through it. Didn't totally fall down. Not going to have a bunch of time caught up on me. It was fun kind of going really close to these trees, at speed with, not being on a mountain bike, not having those super wide bars, having drop bars. It was kind of fun to be able to get real close to them. Feels adventurous, feels like you're being sketchy, and sketchy means faster. So that was kind of fun. All right, so we're out of the woods. That's, that was the spot where it was gonna be the worst for me. So, here as you come around this corner, I jump off, I grab my bike, and I'm able to look to the right, and I can see there's nobody else coming, because it does double back. So now I start to feel really confident that I've created a big enough gap to not really have to worry about it. And doesn't mean I'm going to stop pushing. Got to get back on the bike. This remount was one of my worst, because you're remounting and doing a little serpentine through the barriers, and so really no ability to. I wasn't really able to clip in. Wasn't really able to pedal. It's something I got to practice. And again, probably running through the barriers and jumping on all at the same time would have been good. And here we are, nice straightaway to the back side of the park, the last part of the course. put down some power, try to gain back some of the speed I just lost through that descent. But again, there's nobody behind me now. And again, the person who's in front of me, Ansel, who took first here, the junior from AAVC, he ends up finishing 20 seconds ahead of me. I think on this lap specifically, I did gain some time back on him, but I just wasn't chasing him. Hadn't thought about it. Again, at this point, maybe if that's him right there, it'd be one of these ones right here somewhere. I guess where would he be? Probably that one right there. So yeah, so that's your 20 seconds. So he's there. There's not much course left, and this is the stuff that he's the best at. This is where the differential between him and me would be, is getting through the barriers, getting through the sand. So at this point, there's absolutely, even if I knew he was a part of the race, there'd be no way for me to make up that 20 seconds here. Could I have pushed way harder in the first half of the course to really catch up to him? Maybe I could have if I would have thought about it. What are you gonna do? Life goes on. But here, I saw him, wasn't chasing him anyway, but there would have been no way at this part in the race to really catch up. It's just, he's going to be, from a skill standpoint, better than me for this. So I get on, going to get through the sand. There's no one around me. Not, still trying to go as hard as I can because that's just what a race is. But, I'm pretty content with finishing. I thought first at this point, but second. Not much in front or behind me to really worry about. I'm through the sand, and all it is a straightaway and a left turn into the finish line, and that's gonna be our race. Again, not pushing too hard here, just not just in the 200s, 100s. Really, just not doing much. Again, no one around me. Just happy to be done. That's the end of the race. First cyclocross race ever. Really only my second time doing cyclocross activities on it. The day before, I had taken it to the park to practice dismounts and remounts a couple times. Bruised my hamstring doing it. Ran into a tree. Hit my funny bone while trying to shoulder the bike. I don't know. So Friday was a pretty awful day of trying to practice being on the bike. Today was really just the second day trying to do it. It was fun. Definitely a lot of skills that I'm lacking, but it was great Type 2 fun. Awful. This whole race it was just awful. But as soon as I was done, I was so happy. It was such a cool thing to do. I don't know how I'm going to do anything longer. 30 minutes was pretty long and pretty brutal already. The idea of doing 40 to an hour seems awfuler. But anyway, ton of fun. I'm gonna do a couple more. Don't know if I'll do the whole series, but I'll do a couple more this year. Certainly in the novice category to get some practice, but maybe to do the sport as well. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you at the next race.